For September 20th, 2022, it is 5:31, and I will call this meeting to order. May I have roll call, please?
Okay. Commissioner Hewitt?
Here.
Vice Mayor Sui?
Here.
Commissioner Romanek?
Here.
Commissioner McQuaid?
Here.
Mayor Orndorff?
Here. I'm going to stand for the salute of the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Sorry, my foot kept hitting the chairs. I did not want to. Excuse me. This meeting is being conducted in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act of 1975, was advertised, posted, and made available to the public as required by statute. The municipal clerk is directed to include a statement in the minutes of this meeting. Madam Clerk, is there any changes to the agenda?
There have been no changes, Mayor.
So we have no presentations.
We have none.
And public comment. It doesn't look like there's anybody here this evening, so we'll open and close the public comment portion of on the agenda. Discussion of commissioners. Commissioner Romanek.
Yes, good evening all tonight. I will save everything for the regular agenda today.
Thank you. Commissioner Hewitt.
Yes, I'll be giving later on this evening the stats for public safety. And there's also going to be copies down the front for anybody who wants to get them during the regular meeting. And we have a ordinance coming forward for parking signs. I don't know if anybody has any questions on it or anything, but if you do, I'd be glad to answer them.
Did you want to explain it?
Maybe I can. I don't want to get into any specific situation, but you may have noticed some parking taking place on various city properties. But if you look at our ordinance as it currently exists, we have regulations for parking only at City Hall, this municipal complex, also at only two of our parks,
City
and also at the city park and I believe Waltman Park.
Yes.
Those two, and then the other place is the I think the arts building. I think there's a parking lot there and that also there's regulations for that. So there are no regulations for parking on any other city property, including the fire department complex or the rescue squad complex. So what this would do is this would allow us to put signs that would regulate the time, place, and manner of parking on our city properties. So that, for example, we could put a sign up that says no parking between dusk and dawn, or between 9 p.m. and 9 a.m. It would give us the ability to do it not only on the parks, but also the fire department would have the ability, because they have had some problems, because they have spaces that really are intended for use for volunteer firemen when they're responding to a call, and then what's happened is the volunteer firemen arrive and there's no place for them to park, which is a problem.
Yes.
So it would fill a void that's in our current code.
Those places at the fire department are posted with signs, but there has never been an ordinance, so the signs don't mean anything. 2 weeks ago, we had a call for our second ambulance. It was at the ambulance building on the curve on Columbia Avenue. They couldn't get out because there was a resident's car parked in that alley. They couldn't get the ambulance out. This is why we're proceeding with that. And for those that might be listening, and I'll go over this in the regular meeting, we are leaving what will amount to 7 parking spots there on Dock Street. They're parallel parking along the curb. We're not signing them. They will be available there for the residents in that area. So it's not like we're signing off the whole area. But we do need spots for our volunteers when they're called when we have a big fire.
And then, did you want me to address the other ordinance too,
The ordinance that we're bringing up tonight for,
for vacant properties?
if you would like to, yes.
Yeah. The state in January enacted a new set of regulations that govern actually govern the municipal regulation of abandoned properties, of fees that can be charged when a bank files a foreclosure action. The fee that we can charge is fixed by ordinance. The current ordinance that we have, we enacted because there was, we were threatened with suit by some tax lien foreclosure companies that were challenging our fees, our inspection fees, when a foreclosure would be filed, because we would conduct a foreclosure, an inspection, and then we would tell the bank what, if anything, needed to be fixed. And they challenged our fees, and we found that there was a consolidated lawsuit that actually was occurring in front of Judge Telsey, who's the assignment judge for Gloucester, Salem, and Cumberland. And there was a consent decree in that litigation. I think it involved 4 or 5 different townships. I think they were either in Salem or Gloucester County. Monroe, I think, was one of them. And so there was a model ordinance that was approved in that settlement. So we adopted our ordinance. This was during the last commission, or amended our ordinance to comply exactly with what that model ordinance, which was approved by the consent decree, said. And I think the fee that was agreed was reasonable in that litigation was $400 a year. Well, the legislature now has amended the law, and they've adopted a mandatory ordinance that municipalities are supposed to adopt. I'm looking at the law now, and it says the legislature finds it's in the state's interest for municipalities to operate such programs as we do to so with certain uniformity as part of the state's overall statutory scheme addressing the risk of blight. And then the law itself says, and this law was adopted in January of this year, says this bill will take effect immediately, except that municipalities with existing property registration programs, and that includes us, would be provided until the first day of the 7th month next following the effective date to amend those ordinances to the extent necessary to make it consistent with this bill. So that, I read that as mandatory. In other words, we have to comply with the law. And 7 months from February 1 is September 1, so we really have to do this. Really what we've done is we've just simply incorporated what the state said we're supposed to have. Now, it does increase the inspection fees, but it's not because we want to increase them, it's because the state said we should. And I think that there's a substantial increase between year 1 and year 2 with the inspection fee that a bank would have to pay to the city. So that's the reason why we have this ordinance. That's why we're doing it now. We really don't have any wiggle room on this.
And the reason this was brought up is I read it. A couple of residents reached out after the agenda came out, and they questioned it. So, this should answer those questions. And I have what Brock just read to us that I can give to them, and it'll be explained and understood. With that, Mayor, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner McQuaid?
I'll wait for the regular meeting then.
Okay, thank you. Vice Mayor?
Yeah, resolutions 14.1 and 14.2 concerning IT services. So this was done as a cost-saving measure, and what it did is it put the servers here instead of, we had a contract with SHI International for that. The first year, this year's savings is $35,839 for the first 5 months. Next year, I'm expecting to be somewhere in the realm of $80,000.
Have our servers on site.
Yeah. Additionally, I'd like to introduce Mr. Blander. For those of you who have not met him, he is slated to replace our CFO sometime probably in May. So he's on board, he's working, and it's good to have you.
Welcome aboard.
Welcome.
Welcome.
The other one, let's see.
So is Ravel gonna take on the IT support of the?
They're already doing it.
They're
so,
already
yeah,
doing it,
so
okay.
they're taking
Yeah, we
all of
canceled
it
the,
now.
well, unofficially, but August 31st, they've already started as of September. Revel.
And let me get back to this ordinance on the first reading for the removal of planning board members. Affectionately terming that the Cardy Amendment. This is suggesting that we make that consistent with the zoning board and the state statute. He was correct. So we finally got to doing that. It was one other thing I wanted to talk about, but. No, never mind. I guess I don't want to talk about anything else. And you just let me point this out, because this is how this work session's supposed to work. I mean, it's kind of a gift, because we can't get together and talk. We're not in a public meeting, right? So if you have questions, if you want to discuss something, now's the time to do it. While we're all together, we can discuss it, everybody knows what the hell's going on, before we get to the regular meeting, and then we don't look so good when we don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. You know, I think the tendency is, when you get to these meetings, is that, do I give a report? And why should I give a report now if I'm going to give the same report later? So I think it's really almost better if we were around a table rather than up on a dais, because this is really the only opportunity you have to be together and to ask each other questions or discuss something.
Correct.
Well, yeah, if it's not something that's in our department, if I had a question
Yeah.
for, you know, Vice Mayor, it's, okay, well, can you just explain this ordinance or resolution?
Yeah.
If it doesn't make sense as what we're reading, it's being amended or changing or adding, it's because it's a lot of legal jargon that you are able to explain, but, it's hard for us to be able to discuss that earlier, beforehand, so.
Because the regular meeting, the business meeting, that's when you're typically going to be dealing with the public. This is really for you guys to discuss
Discuss.
anything that you want to bring up or discuss with each other, or a question you have for each other.
And naturally, it is open to the public also, if they want to
Yeah,
come.
it is open to the
It's
public.
informal, and it's so we can all not break the law and talk with each other and question what's going on.
Correct. Appreciate that. I mean, I think this is great, and I think that maybe we should utilize it a little bit more as a discussion on what's on the agenda ahead of time to understand it. I know just from seeing a few things and people questioning, and there was a lot of question about the auction vehicles, that we're auctioning off vehicles. We've done that before. I know we
Yes.
did that at the beginning of the year. There was vehicles, there was tools and stuff like that within the city that we auctioned off and was a benefit to the city. So this isn't something new that we've done before, or that it's not something new, we've done it before as well.
Just a
I
bit.
think the only thing that I wanted to bring up was the ordinance, the first 13.1, that we're amending the Millville City Code, Chapter 30, from the restaurants, fast food, on the Arts District, which is not technically an Art District anymore. We still reference it as that, but I think this is gonna be a really great, positive thing for High Street, and I think it will bring more interest.
We do need to do this in order to open High Street back up again.
Absolutely.
And bring business, because it's been closed, let's face it. High Street's been closed except for certain things for years.
Unfortunately, art galleries are not going to sustain High Street. They're
No.
not going to bring rateables. We need rateables, we need jobs, and we need places for people to go. So I spoke to
Absolutely.
a few people, and I think that'd be a really great idea. I think we'll have a lot of support with this, so
Yeah,
I think it's needed at this time.
I agree. It's a stepping point to turn what we need to revitalize,
Excuse
the downtown of our main
Yeah.
street in Millville, and this is a step in the right direction.
So that the public knows, this is in our land use plan already. The ordinance just hasn't been updated.
Correct.
So,
Correct. Yeah, it was changed with the last commission, but the ordinance wasn't amended to.
Well,
Seven?
originally it was, you couldn't have like a chain you have move in there,
2007.
When you ran, yeah.
Mr. Vice Mayor. Well, originally you couldn't have a chain going there like Starbucks or
Well, that's
anything.
way back when you could.
So we can do that now, right, with this?
As soon as we
This updates the
work through it,
ordinance.
yes.
Once
Okay.
this passes, yes.
And
Okay,
it's
I
technically you
brought
can do
that
it
up
now,
before.
but the ordinance is wrong.
Yep.
Correct.
And with the, like you said, with the auction, Mayor, everybody does it. It's nothing that anybody should get rattled about or think we're routing around things. Most every town, city, municipality, county does this.
We just had one like
Yeah, we just had,
That's right, that's what-
we've had one since we've
We
been
just
in
had
office.
one this
Yes.
year, so it
And
sounds
now it's
like
time
it's
to
not
do
new that
another
we're
one.
doing
We
it.
gotta clean up 15th Street. That's where all these vehicles are at.
Yep. All right, so that's all that I have for now. And open to public comment. If anybody would like to address the commission, please come to the podium, state your name and concern. Limit your comments to 5 minutes. You have one question? You have to come to the podium, sir.
It's not that informal.
Tim Sperania, Millville, New Jersey. But in regards to the vehicles we're auctioning off, or the city's auctioning off, what's the average age
Average age of the vehicle?
of the vehicles?
The ones that are ours are pretty old, but I gotta look.
Very old.
The list is
Oh, wow,
online,
that's-
let me just pull it.
I don't know. The list is online, and honestly, I haven't looked at it, Tim.
Some of them look like
but
they were
Well,
early
it makes sense
2000s.
Some of them were like 2005.
Yeah, it makes sense to
You
get
know,
rid of
it
them.
was-
'cause
They're pretty much
they're-
boneyard, but we can't send them to the junkyard.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, seeing nobody else, we'll close the public comment. Any closing comments of commissioners?
Give me 1 second.
All right, Vice Mayor's gonna look to see if we can find the vehicles listed.
As far as city vehicles go, there's a 1997 van, a 2001 Crown Victoria, 2002 Mercury, a 2005 Explorer,
It's time.
2010 Crown Victoria. And that's the newest car, it's a 2010 Crown Victoria from the city side. So,
We're not allowed to scrap those, you said, is that?
well, we get more money from the auction.
Yeah. Price of scrap, we will get more money. At auction, scrappers will buy them.
Right,
cheap,
and they'll scrap
they'll
them and
just
they'll
take
pull the
'em
parts
right-
out and.
Yeah, they'll just take them right to the scrapyard.
Anything else? Anybody?
Unless the city commission wants to take one of those Crown Vics, we can work on it on our own time. and
Make it
turn
the commission
We can make it
vehicle.
into a
It can be our
demolition.
parade vehicle.
No, a demolition derby car for the fair next year,
Oh, there
and
you
the mayor can drive it.
I move to adjourn before anybody else says anything remotely like that.
Yes,
I thought it was a good idea.
sir, second.
Second.